One of my captors refused redemption. He did not see value in a new life. Now, new life surrounds him. Must have time to gather.
The void protects its children.
Hello and welcome, Exiles, to the final update to the Vaal Cold Snap Architect of Chaos. Now, I didn't do an update video for a while because, quite frankly, I was basically just farming a bunch of currency with the gear from the day 2 update, and I wasn't really updating anything, so I didn't want to make another video to just be like, I changed my amulet. Because that's essentially what happened. I basically was playing this character that you saw on day 2 with the same gear, but I swapped in a Defiance of Destiny, and then I went through basically self-crafting a helmet, a wand, a manifold ring, a glove, a belt, and then also a cluster jewel. I was assembling a bunch of gear upgrades, but the thing is, to swap one piece, for example, if I wanted to put on this ring, I was going to brick my res to do it, which would then require other gear pieces to be done. And it was just going to be like this awkward, like halvesy swap if I just started putting one piece in and then I'd have to swap something. So I just kind of wanted to do it all at once. So I was just assembling the gear upgrades in my side stash and just waiting to do it all at once. Ultimately, the difference in how strong this character is now versus what the character was before, I think we're much, much faster and much higher damage. But how fast we can farm bestiary, which is what I was doing for currency, wouldn't change all that much, because when you're farming bestiary, you're kind of just running around the map. Now, granted, my character now has permanent adrenaline and torment, that is a substantial increase, but for the most part, outside of the speed increase, the damage increase doesn't really change how fast you farm betrayal or bestiary that much, because for the most part, you're just running around the map until you find a Black Morrigan or one of the other valuable beasts. So the amount of time you need to actually do damage is a very short portion of the total farm, which is why I didn't feel it was that necessary to swap all this gear or keep trying to upgrade incrementally, and why I held off till now. So the upgrades we made, and I'll go through how to craft each piece for those that are curious about copying the system. To start off with, the wand. This is a very nice DPS upgrade. The craft is essentially doing recombination crafting, which I would look up my recombinator video or the 325 updated recombinator guide. Essentially, the way you do it is you get +1 cold, +1 all, % runic damage, dot multi, cold dot multi. You get those stats individually by themselves. So you go on the trade site and you'll buy like a cold dot multi wand where there's a bunch of other mods. You'll split it to try to get rid of some of those excess mods and then annul off the extra mods. Basically, you're trying to isolate each of the individual stats. Then after that, you're going to be doing recombinations where you add aspects of the spider and chosen bench crafts to get yourself into a 2-mod situation or a 3-mod situation, depending on what you're trying to go for. And then eventually, when you're going for the big combination, you can combine a 3-mod with a 2-mod if you do a multi-mod on one with a bunch of chosen affixes and a multi-mod on the other with like an aspect. Ultimately, I was okay if it bricked and gave me an aspect as the outcome, because the last suffix I could benchcraft wasn't going to be too valuable. Granted, later on, when I had a real big res issue trying to get this all set up perfectly, if I could just have crafted one res on the weapon suffix, that would have been pretty nice. But ultimately, it's a recombination craft. I would heavily recommend looking up my recombination guide video. That it's essentially the same method I used for this wand here. After that, we have the Archdemon Crown. This is essentially an essence craft where you do Essence of Horror until you hit Hypothermia, and then you annul off the extra suffix and do a suffix can't be changed, Reforge Chaos. This is about a 1 in 5 or 1 in 6 to give you a... Good luck, Loy. Good luck. You're on camera. Hit it for the boys. T1ES or T1 Hybrid. Oh, wait. He had reservation efficiency on there. Dang. GG. I didn't even see the reservation efficiency. Well freaking played, Loy. I just assumed he was going for one of the ES rolls, because essences are so cheap, I didn't want to hit that. Oh, well, resell value. I got 2 more bases. XDD business. He bought that 28 quality base for me. All right. I don't know if I'm going to cut that out of the video. Anyways, as for the helmet craft, I went for essentially Essence of Horror till you hit Hypothermia, and then you go Suffix Can't Be Changed, Reforged Chaos, 1 in 6 to hit T1 Chaos Res. If you hit like T3 or T2 Chaos, which is about a 50% chance to happen, that's probably okay. And then after that, I would recommend using Bristle Matrons. They are at an all-time cheap because the beast farming is really good and not a lot of people are crafting yet. You can get those for 40C. And if you have 3 suffixes, they'll give you a Prefix Can't Be Changed. Also, Veiled Orbs are all pretty cheap right now. So basically, you could just do a Veiled Orb to put +2 AoE on there. I was trying to get increased AoE, but I kind of settled. I gave up. Exalts were kind of burning a hole in my pocket, and I settled with the weird hybrid life. Not my greatest craft, but it's good enough to have decent damage, and our AoE is still fine, as you can see in the video. After that, it would be a lot better, though, with AoE. Anyways, after that, crafting the Manifold Ring. This is just getting a Manifold Ring. The bases are pretty cheap. I think I bought, like, 3 bases for, like, 10C each, and then I split them. You do Essence of Delirium until you hit a high-tier life, and then you just blind mist it if you can have extra Dead Avixes on there. This takes, I don't know, 1 in 15, 20 essences maybe to hit T2, T1 life, roughly in that range. Not 100% sure. But the chance you get positive life and positive dot multi is about a 50-50. This is just a way to get good dot multi and a good amount of flat life. You can still just use a rare ring if you want your res to be more easily fixed. That's up to you. After that, for the gloves, you go for fractured life or fractured hybrid life, and then you do a hollow fossil plus the pristine plus I would recommend sanctified and maybe corroded. You could do like a quad resonator, and you're just trying to hit life regenerate with a hollow fossil and an open suffix. This mod right here, you have onslaught during soul gain prevention. With our build, we have soul gain prevention basically the entire time we're playing the game, because the way it works is we kill the first pack, we get our 8 Vaal souls, and then we cast our Vaal Cold Snap. It lasts for like 8 seconds, and then the duration of our Vaal Cold Snap soul gain prevention lasts like 12 seconds. So what ends up happening is I run around for 8 seconds, I recast it, and I restart the soul gain prevention, which never actually ended, and that just means permanent onslaught, which is very cool for making our character fast. Our character probably looked pretty fast for a character that doesn't have a mage blood because we have soul gain prevention, and we have permanent adrenaline from Annihilation's approach, and we have tormented spirits, which give a lot of speed as well. So it's just a real zoomy map farmer. Basically, I'm doing it for beast farming, but you can use it for pretty much anything. We did our first T17 yesterday, and I think tonight or today on stream, we'll do some Ubers and see how that goes. And then as for the belt craft, this is basically just a bunch of pristine fossils. You can awaken Orb Hunter with Elder to make it more likely for you to hit % life. That's up to you. You can just do an Elder belt, but the goal here was life recovery, % life, and flat life. Just a nice heavy life belt. And then you need an open suffix for the regen ES mod. The way this works is right now our recharge rate gives us full ES in about 6 seconds. That's not good enough for permanent uptime and everlasting sacrifice, because you can see it lasts 4 seconds, 1,000, 2,000, and then it should be back up, right? And the thing is, if I have this belt mod, the second I'm next to a rare monster, that 150 ES will restore my 428 ES in roughly about 3 seconds, which would cut our restore time from a 6-second duration down to like a 2.5, 2-second duration for how fast it'll fill up, which means whenever we're fighting a rare or unique, we will have permanent uptime on Everlasting Sacrifice, which means our max res will be looking like this, 88, 87, 88, 86, which is pretty dang good for max res. As for that, as for the tree, the other thing we crafted here was a cluster jewel. You want to fracture either all res, life, effect, or chaos res. If you fracture anything but chaos res, you can do Reforged Chaos and then do annuls and exalts whenever you hit 2 T1 mods. Or if you fracture, for example, I fractured Chaos Res, I was just doing Reforged Life. There might be some better options, but I think ideally it's if you have one of the other mods fractured and Reforged Chaos. The goal here was just to help carry some of our resistance issues that we got when we decided to drop a ring. Ultimately, if you do not do a Manifold Ring, you probably don't need a large cluster like this to compensate for it, so maybe that could work out fine in your favor. As for Watcher's Eye, we made this with some of our beast rerolls. We had the Hellion Alphas, and we got regen and dot multi. Technically, I could take advantage of the Zealotry increased damage taken if I wanted to, but that would require me dropping Flesh and Stone and Tempest Shield. It would require dropping some defenses that I don't really want to do, so I'm not doing that. And then we have Rational Doctrine. This is nice, just a nice luxury extra regen thing. Ultimately, right here, we're trying to fit more regen into our build, and that helps us do that. Our character's up to 5k regen. This should be about net 3k sustain or something around that mark, and that it feels pretty dang good. Outside of that, I'm trying to think if there's anything else important I need to go over. Oh, I mentioned this in the other video, but we have basically, I don't know if Divine Flesh is bugged or what, but I was under the impression that no damage hitting the ES means a recharge wouldn't stop and I wouldn't need this regen mod. But unfortunately, with Divine Flesh, the recharge does stop when you get hit. So we click Eldritch Battery. That way, if you have Eldritch Battery on, it never stops, even with Divine Flesh. So even though we have a semi-bricked recharge rate, it will still constantly be solving our mana problems, as well as keeping Everlasting Sacrifice at good uptime. So that's the reason we're forced into this. Ultimately, I wouldn't really want to go all the way up here to do this. It's kind of a waste of passes, and it feels bad to do. It wasn't something I was expecting in the build, but the build still works pretty good, even having to force this in. All right, so that covers all the basics of the character. We got our Zabaki with Divine Flesh. We grabbed these strength nodes just so we could tattoo more strength for regen. That's essentially why I'm doing this. And yeah, that's the setup of the character. Let's go ahead and talk about ultimately what this character is good at, what this character can do, and what this character's DPS and overall thoughts of the build. So overall thoughts, character is fast. Character has good defenses. I can pretty much just turn off my brain in 90% of content because Defiance of Destiny plus good regen is just a feels good situation. Ultimately, if you added recoup in, it would be even more. You can kind of just let your brain not worry about anything and just chill. But the downside of this character is it is low DPS for the investment. We have really good gear here. I self-crafted a lot of these things. You can't really buy it on trade. You have to make it yourself. Our DPS on our character right now is, you'll see we have a tooltip of 180k on regular Cold Snap and about 2 something million on Vaal Cold Snap. With our Frostbite, with our Frostbomb, with our Frostbite, you know, exposure, plus our Curse, plus making the enemies take increased damage from Bone Chill, we're probably, if I was going to guess, I would say we're probably around 5 to 7 million DPS on single target. That's good for 90% of content. That will be able to kill Ubers. What it won't be able to do, like I kind of guessed before we started this character, is we're not going to be good at doing things like Rogue Exile farming or Titanic farming, where you're really pumping the difficulty up. So you have to decide whether or not that's for you. For me, I'm going to enjoy this character a lot for beast farming. I'm going to try very hard not to disassemble this character's gear because I have a lot of fun playing this character. This character moves really fast for a character not wearing a mage blood, and I'm pretty satisfied with how it turned out overall. As for cost of the character, I would say it's probably a little weak for the cost, you know, just talking about the single target mainly, but hard to beat 5k regen with Defiance of Destiny and an unreserved life pool, petrified life pool with Defiance of Destiny. Speaking of, the reason I don't have reserved another aura right here is because the way Defiance of Destiny works is it says gain 24% missing unreserved life before being hit by an enemy. Essentially what that means is whenever I get hit, if I'm like down 10% life, like say I'm at 40% life, it'll give me 24% of my total life pool. So that's 60% of the life that's missing. It'll give me 24% of that, which means about 13-14% it'll give right back. So effectively what doing Petrified Blood with Defiance does is it doubles the effectiveness of this amulet. Because normally this amulet is giving you back 24% of what your life is normally worth. But with Petrified Blood, your life is worth like 1.8 times as much because of the way the damage diversion works. And so it's very, very effective. That's basically the reason why we're not reserving as much life with the Defiance of Destiny. Of course, I still have Vitality on there for a little bit of extra regen and the Max Res Mastery, but that's the idea of what we're doing. So anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed this overview of the character today on stream. We're going to be doing a lot of farming with it, and we're going to start assembling gear for the Oshabi character. I'm really excited about making the Evasion Int Stack Oshabi character. I think it'll be a lot of fun to try to push really hard endgame content with it. I'm just curious to see how it'll turn out, to be honest with you. As always, thanks for watching, Exiles. Take care and peace out. Have a good one.